Hey guys, Lissandro here, and today I want to discuss something particularly very important. I'm very serious. So I was watching a video pertaining to somebody talking in regard to remaining anonymous, and the main reason why he mentioned this is because there are a lot of YouTubers that usually talk in regard to controversial topics, religion, um, politics, meat eaters, uh, evolutionist versus creationist, and so on. The list goes on. Okay, but the thing is, this when you get into these controversial topics, not everyone's respectful, and eventually you come across different trolls and even people that dox you. And the thing is that what I want to focus on is maintaining your security, in regard to in regard to your own information being exposed and all that. Now, in regard to me, yes, I cover my face, but I never show my face at all in any form of social media, specifically pertaining for that. Now, in regard to security, I have the security very light and all, and the reason why is that on my main channel, um, I don't talk about. If you've seen some of the videos, I don't talk about anything too radically harsh or anything like that. It's something general that people can deal with. Maybe they might get upset over some things here and there, but nothing too controversial. But as far as like other things, like other much harsher things, like in politics or moral standings or anything like that, then usually those things I tend to keep it on a separate channel, and I don't link any information that could be rerouted or linked to me in any form or way, and that's particularly why I have these separate channels. Okay, so what I want to talk about is this: if you're gonna get into talking about anything controversial, anything that can possibly ruin your life, ruin your career, a job, simply because you get involved into controversial heat, into a bunch of debates or things like that, okay, you have to understand that a, not everyone's going to be decent. You're going to have a lot of people throwing ad hominems towards you, and some even try to defame you just to discredit you. And that includes people doxing you and so on. Okay, and the deal is this. Okay, if you're gonna get into that, you assume responsibility for whatever comes out, for whatever you're expressing comes out and all. Because if you don't, then it'll catch you by surprise, and you'll have a lot of undesirable things coming your way and all. If you are very serious about getting into controversial topics, I suggest like the following things. To start off, if you want to get like in, for example, like light level security, like um, for example, if you're going to be talking about things that may annoy a little people but are not that controversial, like do things like, for example, like how I have my face image blurred, or other visual aesthetics while you're talking, anything to avoid your physical appearance and all. Okay, if you don't include any form of like personal information in any of your social accounts. If you decide to put personal information in your social accounts, make sure that that is included only in for example, channels in which you're only channels in which you are only gonna be dealing with light topics. Topics are not gonna be that controversial that you can pretty much handle and all. And even like that, I wouldn't do anything like that. Like and so that's light level security. Now, if you want to step it up a notch, and you're gonna want to get into, for example, like really deep, like social justice warrior type of crap and all, and debate people like feminists, activists, and all that. Criticize people with different opposing views towards you. But I'm talking about those people that are like, very volatile to talk to. Then one thing I suggest is that you get you get a separate account. You get a separate account in which you include nothing at all. You just include an alias. You completely block away your any form of image towards showing your face in any form or way and all. Uh, and nothing of information. Like for example, if I wanted to do something separate, I will create another. I will create a separate email, separate Google Plus account, separate YouTube channel, and if I want to share it on Twitter, separate Twitter with separate email account, separate Facebook, and so on. And nothing to do with my actual personal stuff and all. Okay, now if you're gonna be talking about like other like much greater, creepier stuff, like for example, if you're gonna get into stuff like the deep web or the dark net or any form of commentary in regard to like very critically creepy websites, then one thing I suggest you take every measure seriously because some of these websites are completely deranged. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these are like psychotic people, complete psychopaths, serial killers, or anything like that, or pedophiles, or anything like that. I wouldn't be surprised at all. So if you want to get into that deep world, that dark world, I suggest you take measures. For example, if you then this is more like high level security. For example, I would recommend getting a VPN proxy that are that have high level encryption, PGP level encryptions. Once you have all that set up, I recommend you using your VPN or proxy to create your accounts that are completely separate of your own private accounts. Remember, no personal information, nothing like that. Created under a completely different aliases, and then you can address those type of accounts or websites or whatever you'd like to address in any form or any way. You have to avoid being traced back or in any way or form because it's like I said, the deep web or the dark net is a very creepy place, and you do not want to expose yourself entirely. So I hope I make myself clear and all. But the thing is this: the and an additional measure. Okay, if you're gonna go and to that type of security, one thing I recommend is using us if you can. There's two things you can do. Okay, first of all, once you have all your VPN encryptions and everything, well, there's a number of things you can do. You can pretty much connect from a remote location, which is relatively distant from your home terminal, relatively distant from the routers you connect to, or any of the interconnections or anything like that. Connect from there using your VPN and everything else. Okay. Another recommendation would be like using a NIC card that in which you can pretty much change the MAC address and make sure you change IP address and everything else. Have a dynamic IP address and all, and that would be a security measure. So the deal is this: if you're in a remote location, uh, where you're in a computer that's distant from your home, you can change your NIC card uh, MAC address by changing the chip, the ICs, and there are some NIC cards you can do that. You probably have to check on eBay and all. You have that. You connect to VPN, and the thing about VPNs and proxy, one thing you have to consider: they're gonna be some of them might be slow and all, but that's the cost for security. And there's sometimes when you can link multiple VPNs. Like for example, one VPN will give you one IP address. You connect to another VPN, it will give you another IP address, and it becomes harder um, for people to trace you down through that. But one thing you have to remember also is that time is also a factor also, because if you let's say you're using different, let's say you took the time to take all these different steps of security. You're a remote location. You manage to change, get a have a NIC card which you can change your MAC address and all. You can change your IP address or dynamic IP address, and you connect to multiple like tunnels, VPNs, proxies, and all. Okay, and keep in mind the more you're connected to, the more it will slow you down. But that's, like I said, that's a cost of security. You're connected through all that, and even your accounts are like pretty much anonymous and all. Then you shouldn't have no problem at all. Okay, but what I was trying to make is that if you have all that security and you only log in like through small time intervals, it's gonna be extremely hard for people to track you down. Okay, um, because tracking takes time. The smaller the smaller the exposure time and the higher level security, the more difficult it becomes to track a person. But and especially if you're constantly changing IP address, changing uh, all the parameters that can be linked to you and all. But anyway, I guess this is all for now and everything. This is just like security measures that I recommend for y'all if you're gonna get involved in this sort of thing and all. But anyway, you guys, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you again next time. Bye.